Hi everyone, Materim here again with another battle report. This one is different. It is not a narrative battle report. In fact, it is a Lizardmen versus Dwarfs battle, facing off against one of the best players that it is my pleasure to know. I'm not going to ID him here in the video because that's just not how I work, but he is a U.S. Masters player, top tournament guy in this area, and has just totally destroyed me every time I've sat down at the table across from him. I specifically asked for him to bring his Lizardmen tonight because he is the only Lizardmen player I know, and this battle is for MrMalorians around the world in 12 games. So I'm going into this fully expecting to get my teeth kicked in, but to have a great time while doing it. As I always have a blast playing against this guy, so I've been really excited for this for a while. This game's been a month in the planning, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get in it, and I will reveal my opponent's villainy right off the top. And as you can see here, my opponent is pulling out all the tricks. He started the night off by corrupting my daughter to join his vile Lizardmen army. So now not only do I have to face a superior opponent, but I have to do it with my own daughter looking on. No, my daughter likes rolling dice, and he's one of the cool players that lets her roll dice for him. She's not around very much through this game, but here's the board we're looking at. Everything's pretty much normal. We usually, when we play together, we don't do any mysterious stuff. So there's forests, hills, couple of buildings in the bottom corner, 3-floor tower in the top left hand. Nothing hugely surprising. So we'll go ahead and get into the deployment for both armies. And I'll start with the deployment for the Lizardmen and apologize to my opponent right off. He was so nice and gave me a copy of his list, and I have somehow totally misplaced it. So I'll be doing this entirely from memory. On the outside of the tower there, we have 10 skinks with javelins, a unit of skinks with a crocs in the building. There is a level 1 skink priest to beasts in there. I think he has Amber Spear. And next to that is a unit of, 24 Temple Guard, it looks like, with a Salon Mage Priest in there. He has the Wandering Deliberations, which I think is the one that gives him these signature spells from all 8 lores of magic. He also has the thing where he gets to channel 3 times at 5 up, something crazy like that. So he's going to have as much magic as he can handle, and I'm going to be trying desperately to make sure none of that magic hangs around for very long. Then in the back we have 10 more skinks with javelins and a second level 1 skink priest of beasts. He has Savage Beast of Horos. In front of that is another 10-man skink and crocs unit. Next to that's another 10-man skink unit. Up front is 3 pterodactyl riders. I don't even remember what they are. Behind that are 11 Cold One riders, and he ends up with 4 characters in there that are like 1 Scarvet one of the Lord level dinosaur riders and 3 of the hero levels in there. They're all like 1-up. Most of them are rerollable armor saves, great weapons, so they're just going to be hitting like a truck. And you can even tell with my daughter looking at them, she knows which one is going to come over and kick Daddy in the face. So, I'm really nervous about that unit. The armor saves and just the ability to kick out damage is something I'm very, very nervous about. And then here are 3 more units of skinks with javelins. I want to say the one on the left has another Croxagore in it. I think that makes sense to me. And then over here on the far end, vanguarded up, is another unit of the Pterodon Riders, whatever they're called. And, just to let you know, the other Pterodon Riders that are in front of his knights, they actually vanguarded to that place because I blocked him off with a vanguard of my own, which you'll see here in a few moments. So here on the Dwarves, I have a unit of 20 Iron Drakes, 10 by 2, full command with the Rune of Slowness and the Rune of Sanctuary on them. There's a Gyrocopter. Behind the building is a Flame Cannon. Up ahead, vanguarded up, is a unit of 12 Slayers, 2 by 6, with 2 Giant Slayers making that front rank, and they have the runic standard that gives them Strolla's runes. Next to that is a unit of Iron Breakers with full command. They have a runic standard with 2 runes of slowness on it. In that unit is my Dwarf Lord, Prince Doran Oathbreaker, or Oathkeeper. He is on Shield Bearers with the runic weapon with the Master Rune of Smiting, a Rune of Fury, and a Rune of Might, and a single Rune of Warding as a talisman. In there as well is my Battle Standard Bearer, Barad Goldfist. He is a Thane with the runic standard with the Master Rune of Groth, One Eye, and an Ancestor Rune. Now you'll notice here, my big mistake here, I hugged the line way too much for a dwarf army. I deployed right at the 12 inches and just did not give myself extra room to make use of my shooting, so I was kicking myself about halfway through deployment here when I thought about that. Then I have a unit of 21 Quarrelers in basically 11 by 2. There's one extra guy in the front rank. Next to that is a second Gyrocopter. Up on the hill are my Longbeards. They have full command and a runic standard with a single rune of slowness on it. There is also my Rune Smith, Debrin Firstforge, whose runic armor has a single rune of iron and a rune of stone. And he has a runic talisman with 2 runes of spell breaking, so it's the one where I get to counter and then attempt to eat a spell. Then up on the hill I have a normal cannon with the rune of forging, and I think that might be it. And a stalwart rune on that. Oh, and the flame cannon had the rune of Master Rune of Disguise and a rune of forging on it. Then you see 10 Thunderers with absolutely no upgrades whatsoever, and my third Gyrocopter. And that makes my army. Now, I got awesomely lucky and managed to roll the army-wide hatred for my ancestral grudge. So I was super happy about that. And then I rolled and lost the first turn. So Lizardmen are going first. And as you can see, he's wasting no time. The Pterodactyl Riders just zoom on right next to the Gyrocopter. This point, I can't afford to worry about them. The Gyrocopters have one very specific task, and that is to wreck faces on as many of these skink groups as they possibly can before they're all poisoned to death. So I've got them in my flank, and there's really not a hell of a lot I can do about it. And over here, 3 skinks come up. 2 of the skink shooter units end up in the forest, which is fantastic. Note the sarcasm there. And the other one with the Croxagore in it is coming straight for my War Machine hill. So I'm not super concerned about that. I've never been really impressed by the Croxagore units, so I'm just kind of saying bring it and we'll see what happens. This, on the other hand, I'm very worried about. Those knights are just coming right for my face. The other Pterodon riders are going to come to try and chaff up some support. Those riders are basically coming right for my Quarrelers, and my Quarrelers aren't going to have a whole hell of a lot they can do about that. He gets his skinks up on top. Now what he does is he actually leaves me a nice little tiny gap between his units to get back here, and you can see it better here, to that Croxagore unit on the right of his Temple Guard. And he moves up very aggressive for everything else. So I'm basically going, I need to get these Slayers into combat like yesterday, or they're going to get shot apart. So I'm going to charge that Croxagore unit and essentially just shoot the gap between the Temple Guard and the Pterodon Riders. And I think that's a brilliant plan. And sad to say, I didn't take a picture of the damage he did during shooting. I stopped his magic cold. He didn't really get anything off. But he shot a lot of these Slayers dead, and then stood and shot some more. So only like 2 of them are alive when they get in here. Or 4 of them, I guess, are alive when they get in here, which is not cool. And this here shows the rest of the damage his shooting in the center did. Took out 4 of my quarrelers before I could really do much about it. So we go into start of Dwarf turn 1, and I need to get the gyrocopters in there. He's got so many skink units around. No reason I can't just park next to him and start barbecuing them with steam, and that is absolutely 100% my plan. And it's such a good plan, I figured I would repeat it here in the middle. And on the right flank as well. So, I'm really starting to love gyrocopters, by the way. And I figure if nothing else, I've got dudes in his line now, so maybe he'll fail a leadership check and not be able to march so with somebody. Maybe not. I don't know. And I literally moved nothing else in the entire army. So I have a gyrocopter blast here. Looks like it kills 3. That sounds about right. Obviously, they're not going to break because they're Lizardmen. And what I didn't show from first turn, the Slon actually left the Temple Guard unit. He's hanging out in that tower now, so he's blasting out leadership and rerolls in a pretty good area. Over here, I did a lot better. I blasted 6 skinks off the table, so that's good. And at this point, just for clarification, I don't remember much about, or I don't know much about Lizardmen, and we were basing skinks off toughness 3. Found out later they're actually toughness 2, so I probably should have gotten a few more in this first round, but it was an honest mistake, so no harm, no foul. And over here, I think I roast 2 from the front unit and managed to actually just barely tick the second unit and took 1 out of them. So, not terrible. I was really kind of hoping to do more. I probably would have done more if we were playing them as toughness 2, because I would have, at least I think that's what they are. I think that's what he said later. But anyway, so here we go. I end up getting, I think this is with my quarrelers. Quarrelers just open up on the Pterodon riders, kill 2 of them, leave 1 with a single wound. So I was super happy with that. Would have been even happier if I had killed the final bastard. But you know what? Small steps. Dwarves take small steps, and I'm cool with that. Okay, and then over here between... Actually, I might have lied. The Pterodon riders might have been shot by my Iron Drakes. I don't quite recall, but I did some damage to them. Between a cannon shot and I think it's the Quarrelers here, I take out 2 of the Knights, which I'm super duper happy with, because I really should not, with their 1-up armor save, whatever it is, I really shouldn't have got any of those through. So that is totally a win for me. So we go into Lizardmen 2, and he charges the Pterodons into my, or the Ripperdactyl, whatever the heck these things are. It's so hard to keep track of Lizardmen when I don't own the book. But basically, he charges dinosaurs into cannon, making me sad dwarf face. And you see the 2 skink units have turned around to look at the gyrocopter. Hopefully they're going, or rather, hopefully for him, they're going to end up poisoning them to death. But there's not a heck of a lot I can do about that, and I'm figuring at least they're not peppering my actual dudes. And here's just a better shot of where they're staring down the Blue Wonder there. And here you see the Knights do succeed their charge into the Quarrelers. The Crocs with the 4 skinks failed their charge into the Longbeards, and these center skinks have turned to face the back end of the gyrocopter to try and poison him to death. And I guess I didn't talk about the little combat we had here in the middle because I forgot to take a picture of it. He ends up killing 1 of the 2 champions in the unit, but the Slayers kill the Croxigore, so that's just a bunch of skinks. They're probably still going to kill those Slayers because they have no armor or no defenses, but I consider that sort of a win. It's breaking up his lines a little bit, and I'm pretty happy there. Over here, he basically circles his skinks around that gyrocopter to shoot him up, and moves his Temple Guard up to the fence so he can get some protection from my big, ugly line of Iron Drakes, and I guess that was pretty smart. I'm really not sure what I'm going to do about those Temple Guard here. This flank is kind of weak, although the Iron Drakes are pretty good. I'm not sure how they'll measure up against Temple Guard. And over here, he sneaks that one remaining Pterodon around to hang out behind my lines. At this point, I really have no real concern or issue as to what it's doing. It's got one wound left on it, and I really haven't been impressed with them so far in what little I've seen, so I'm not really taking it as a threat in any way, shape, or form at this point. And here, last but not least, is just a better shot of that charge. I think on stand and shoot, I might have killed one more of the knights. That sounds right to me. My only hope here, and I'm really kicking myself because I didn't want to be on the line, and I'm stupid for being there, is that my stubborn banner is right next to that. I need at least one dude to hold so I can pincer slam him with the other two dwarf units. So then we go into Magic, and Ice Shard Blizzard goes off on my dwarves, which makes me unhappy. But it was better that than the other crap he was throwing. He ends up throwing like 4 or 5 spells. I ended up eating Miasma, which was good. He threw Soul Blight, the death one, and it did absolutely nothing. And then he threw Fireball, I think, and it did absolutely nothing. So I think I got off pretty light. Then during shooting, Mad Malik takes like half a dozen poison shots to the back of the head. It was bad. My opponent was rolling 6s like it was going out of style. And it really made me cry a little bit on the inside. But Mad Malik gave his life, as all dwarves want to do, trying to kick a lizard in the junk. So that's kind of a win. And over here, between the two units of shooters, they end up putting 2 wounds on the Blue Wonder, so I'm okay with that. That gives me at least one more breath weapon or steam gun shot, and I'm tying these up, so I still think it's worth the 80 points I'm spending on them. God, gyrocopters are so good right now. And then every other skink in the old world fires at this gyrocopter and only manages to put 1 wound on him. Now, don't get me wrong, he wounded like 10 times, but I rolled 4 up arbor saves on this guy like a beast, and he just wasn't having any of it. That new fiberglass they're using in the gyrocopters is freaking awesome, and it was nice though. My opponent responded that it was good that we're both having kind of ridiculous luck, because he's throwing more 6s for poison shots than anyone has any right to ever, and he was happy to see I was getting as lucky with the armor, and it made it feel like a very close game. So we go into close combat, where my dwarf cannon crew shows their mettle. Not only do they not get killed to a man, the one guy left punches a dinosaur in the face and inflicts a wound. And here, you can see the vast majority of the Quarrelers have been evaporated. However, in my defense, they're still there. 4 Quarrelers, for the purposes I need them to, 4 or 40 is the exact same thing. And to add some love to the top of that, the champion managed to inflict a wound on one of his hero level characters. So the guy in the corner there has a die next to him. That is actually 1 wound, so I am super thrilled about that, and the dwarves are going to go make the lizards have a bad day next turn, and that's awesome. And not to be outdone, the banner bearer of my Slayer unit is standing there not taking any shit from skinks. The other here, the giant Slayer dies a horrible death, but another couple of skinks die. So I think it's funny. Admittedly, that unit is way too many points to do what I'm doing with it, but I'm having a good time, and it lets me field a unit of psychopaths with orange mohawks, and I gotta love that. So we start Dwarf turn 2, and the pincer closes. This could not be any more perfect for me if I had planned it this way. All I can hope is that I can chew through these guys and get lucky, maybe break them, because I don't think I'm likely to kill the whole unit before anything else can go slamming into the sides and tilt the balance of power. So I'm super happy. I can't wait for Prince Doran to get in there and just open up some canned lizard meat and put a hurting on them. So I'm super thrilled that this went on. And over here, I put my gyrocopter to go after this unit and put him basically in this area where the flame cannon can shoot right down the rightmost two ranks of those Temple Guard without touching him. So it's bringing as much to bear against that unit as possible. I need to thin them down before they just crunch face on something horrible. And then the Blue Wonder here aligns again down the flank of this skink unit, hoping to burn them up. Now, you may look at this picture and ask, Josh, what the hell just happened? Why are those Temple Guard behind your lines? Well, very simply put, I unleashed hell on them. They took like 2 ranks worth of casualties for everything I threw at them, and failed their leadership check because I killed just enough to bring them out of range from the reroll or the leadership of the Slon, and he rolled like 3 5s on the leadership check. They break, they run through the building, through the lone pterodactyl rider, who panics and flees off the board, and they end up rallying right basically at the edge there where the most model is. It's like millimeters from the edge of the board. We just turned them sideways because I am very prone to hitting stuff on that side with my elbow, and the last thing I wanted to do was toss his Temple Guard all over the floor and crush them. So they're literally right at the edge there, and I could not be happier about that. And I did some minimum damage with shooting with my gyros, other than that massive Temple Guard upset. So we go into close combat, and the poor Slayer ends up getting killed, but he does kill one more skink in retaliation. So I basically made that unit not combat effective for anything other than chaff. So I'm pretty happy with that. And boom goes the dynamite. As you can see from the giant pile of dead lizard carcasses in the back, this fight went very, very well. Yeah, the Quarrelers got wiped out, but if you notice, he is down to just 3 of the 4 characters that were there. His Lord level character moved over into the face of my Dwarf Lord, who inflicted like 10 wounds on him. So he got vaporized, and then the rest of the unit just got eaten. And I mean, my opponent didn't even, I think he fluffed his attacks. Like you see, I think he killed 4 or 5 Longbeards, and that was it. So he is needing double ones to flee at this point, or double ones to hold at this point, and fails it, so he's going to break. But Cold One legs are much longer than Dwarf legs, and cue the Benny Hill music. We are running after him, and nobody touches. The other thing I don't super like about this is it does expose the side of the Longbeard unit to the Croxagore and the last 2 remaining skinks, but I'm thinking even if he manages to kill a couple, I still have army-wide hatred, and that's a big brick. I think I'll be able to put some pain in his face back. So I'm not super worried about that. The biggest problem is that with the way we ran, I'm really out of position to do much anything at this point. And then up here, the Pterodon or Ripperdactyl, whatever they are, managed to finally kill the last of my cannon and push it off the hill, as you can see. Sad times, but frankly I was so busy jumping for joy at what happened with his Cold One Knights, I really didn't care at this point about the cannon. And I'll apologize here because I totally did not get any pictures of Lizardman turn 3 movement. I held him down to nothing in Magic, so he had nothing that worked. But I'll kind of go through it as I'm talking about the shooting here. As you can see, the one group of skinks here showed up and put 2 wounds onto my flame cannon. I'm kind of okay with that. You can see where the skinks in the forest moved, and they shoot down the Blue Wonder. His characters did rally and spin around to face the dwarf units that are chasing them, which you can see in the bottom corner here. And he did charge in with the Crocs and the 2 skinks. He ended up, I think, killing 1 Longbeard, and then I reformed him and facing this way. He's got, I think it's Ice Shard Blizzard off on my Longbeards again, so that made me kind of sad. But this is where, after combat, where I reformed and I'm facing him. I did kill the 2 skinks in that unit. And then over here you can see, as this is top of Dwarf, or bottom of 3 Dwarf, he did rally with the Temple Guard, and they're facing inward to threaten my Iron Drakes. So top of 3 Dwarf turn, I swift reform to unleash some more hell upside the back of the heads of the Temple Guard. And I move my Gyrocopter, who for the second or third straight turn has handled multiple units of skinks shooting him in the face, and still has only taken 1 wound. So he is awesome. That new fiberglass is freaking javelin resistant, I'll tell you. And there was no other movement, so we go into shooting, and the Gyrocopter melts another 4 skinks off, but he's actually rolling semi-decent for leadership and doesn't go anywhere. The cool thing here is I did manage to inflict a wound with the steam gun on one of his 2 casters that's hanging out in that group, so that made me very happy. And my Thunderers tried shooting at the characters and got nothing, so combat goes. We crush the Croxagore here, and I reform like this. And I only do this so that the characters are in the front arc of the Longbeards just barely. We measured it. I mean, it's just barely. But I might be able to get the Iron Breakers around and do something. So we go into Lizardmen turn 4 or 5. I don't recall. I'm sorry. I'm losing track. And sorry about the thumb in the top of the corner. But he ends up charging the flame cannon with the skinks, and that flame cannon is just going to die. And I didn't say this last turn, but I took off, the Iron Drakes took off another rank off of the Temple Guard, so they've got 5 guys left, I think. Over here, he's just moving some skinks around. He actually backed up his characters so that he's no longer in my front arc, which I thought was pretty smart. We're kind of doing a dance of death kind of thing over here, and I get the feeling that the first one that blinks is going to have a very, very, very bad day. And I hold him down to no magic again, I think. I think he's been trying to like Soul Blight that 1 Gyrocopter, and I'm just not having it. I'm rolling better leadership than him. But he comes over here, and the skinks end up taking 3 Thunderers off. So I'm not super happy about that. They do block off his charge unless he's going to charge characters out of that micro unit. So I'm not sure how I'm dealing with this here. Then finally, I need to come up with a name for this red Gyrocopter. I've even asked my wife if she could go ahead and like paint a tiny like squished lizard on the side of it just for fun at this point. But it literally took him firing for the 4th straight turn. So I think this is turn 4. The 4th straight turn into this Gyrocopter before they finally took him down. So way to go, buddy. Earned your points. So we go into combat. You see here, the skinks, as I assumed, just absolutely crushed face on the dwarf, the last dwarf holding down the flame cannon. And I haven't taken a picture of this yet, but now there's a second building off to the left of this picture here that looks just like this one. And the Temple Guard are hanging out in that now. So over here we go into Dwarf turn 4, and all I do is pull back. I don't want to give him any flanks. I'm being very conservative. And I've set it up here so that his best charge is actually against the Thunderers, which is really what I'm hoping for. I hope he takes the bait and goes after them. Because I'm going to flee, run him off the board, and basically pull him out of position so I can hit him with some better units. Now, you may be wanting to call me a liar here, because you're like, Materim, didn't you just say that the Temple Guard were in that building? I absolutely did, and thank you for noticing. But on shooting this turn, my Iron Drakes open up on the building. I end up killing 2 of them, leaving 3. For the second terrible leadership check from this unit, he fails another leadership, panics, and breaks off the table, so I get the points for them. Then on his turn, charge, he does what I wanted him to. I did flee with the Thunderers, and they successfully ran off the board, which made me super happy. And because I figure 120 points to pull him out of the way is plenty. He did redirect, and as you see here, slams into the front of the Longbeards, which I'm okay with, because even with those 3 characters, he's not going to kill that to a man. And I'm thinking I'm going to slam my my Iron Breakers in here, and my Dwarf Lord is just going to go to town and start chewing up some characters, and I'm totally on board with that plan. And then over here, the Skink Army finally decides they've had enough of my Iron Drakes putting in pain on everybody, so they're starting to circle around me and are just going to try and pump me full of as many poison shots as he possibly can get out of me. And then my opponent gets tricky. He has these Ripperdactyl things, or whatever they are, Pterodon Riders, and he parks them so that I'm not going to be able to complete the charge with the unit into the side of his characters. If I do hit, I'm going to turn the other way, be totally out of position, and unable to help. So I'm kind of inwardly cursing right now, but smiling, and you'll see why I'm smiling on my next turn. So during Magic Phase, this poor Slon has been trying to get spells off, and I've either been stopping them or letting the ones through that are completely ineffectual, like Fireball. He hurls a Fireball at the back of my Iron Breakers unit, fully maxed out, irresistible force, and on 3d6 rolls 6 wounds. Or 6 hits, rather. Of those 6 hits, 1 wounds, and I armor save it. His miscast kills 4 skinks and ends his magic phase. So we were kind of joking that the Slon just threw a fireball without even looking out a window and just like slammed it into the side of the building and roasted a bunch of skinks. So that was pretty funny. And I want to just go ahead and start off by saying that I am rapidly falling in love with Iron Drakes. As the skink universe opens up and inflicts a single wound. They end up doing, I mean, again, it's a lot of poison, a lot of stuff, but it's all strength 3, and my armor is just crushing that, and I'm super happy about that. And even with Ice Shard Blizzard up, we basically, the last combat we whiffed at each other, and this is start of Dwarf 5, Dwarf 5, and you can see why I'm smiling. I don't need the Iron Breakers to go throw holy hell down. Prince Doran says giddy up, and his shield bearers charge him right out of that unit and into the flank of these characters. Be honest, because they're always strikes last, even my initiative 4 on the Dwarf Lord is amazingly quick, and with this build he really doesn't have any of these characters that are going to be able to hang with me. And I'm going to challenge, because frankly I want the overkill, and it's going to be freaking awesome in the next couple of combats. And I decide they've had enough fun firing their guns. It's time to get the Iron Drakes in. I charge here. I was half expecting him to flee, But he's stuck, and so I figure, all right, I'm going to run over these guys, and if I get a good overrun, I'll actually slam into the building, and that'll let me not only fight those guys in the building next turn, but stop from being shot at and basically waste these 3 skink units. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for at this point. So there was no shooting, so we go straight to close combat. And I absolutely do annihilate that unit. I think I only overrun a couple of inches, though, so I don't hit the building, but whatever. And so here, the Spider Rider guy gets killed by the Dwarves. The Dwarf Lord had challenged one of the other guys, so he's only got one character left who has all his wounds, but he ends up rolling double ones and sticking. So we're here going into 6, just like you see us. Okay, I actually lied. There was no challenge last turn. I just killed the Spider Rider with the Dwarf Lord, and he took off a few more of the Longbeards. But top of 6, you see, he slams the Skinks into the side, hoping to kill that character and just get a few more points of combat res. But I am going to challenge out this turn and just inflict a raw beatdown of characters, and that makes me, again, super happy. I'm very, very thrilled with how the dwarves are performing. Over here, yeah, he turns and runs with the other skinks, because at this point it's top of 6. There's nothing for them to do. He's just trying to get them away and conserve points in case I get some crazy, stupid overrun. And here you see he just moves his skinks out of the building so I can't charge them. He also moves the Pterodon Riders out of the way so the Iron Breakers can't charge them, just to save points. But what I noticed he did here is he moved both of his skink priests out of the building to try and do some cool magic last turn, and failed. I held him down. So those are going to be some potential for me to pick up some quick points if I can swift reform with the Iron Drakes and roll like a god. And that's exactly what I do. I turn around. The Iron Drakes are at like max range. I think I needed 7s to hit, 6 or 7s to hit the little blue guy. And with 19 shots, I ended up getting 3 wounds through, and he got smote, which was awesome because it was like 195 points. So I was super thrilled about that. And then here is just a picture of the last end of the game. The Longbeards and my Dwarf Lord just absolutely crushed that last unit. The guy rolled 3 1s for the last character's flee. My Dwarf Lord caught him and ended up on top of the mountain there, which I thought was cool. It was just a very picturesque image of the Dwarf Lord on shield bearers standing on top of the hill looking over his throng with like lizard skulls in each hand, crushing them with hammers. It was pretty cool. But that's pretty much all you can ask for a dwarf battle. And considering that I went into this expecting to get my tail kicked, this is a very, very pretty looking field from my expectations. So I was very, very happy. It was a great game. So I want to start this wrap up with a little caveat. First of all, I understand that this is not my opponent's normal type of tournament list. He played this army because I asked him to play this army, although he did build the list. And there was some luck shenanigans that went on either way. However, that being said, he is still the single best player that I know, that I have the opportunity to play against. And I beat him, and it felt good. I really just, I feel awesome about this. I loved the list. It was great fun to be able to play it. We were just having a ball with this game, and I won. So I don't usually talk about the points, but I want to just to kind of get it across. I captured 2,033 points of my opponent, and he took 1,307 of mine. So it wasn't even that I squeaked it by. I put a dwarven boot in some lizard ass, and it made me feel so happy. So that's all I'm going to gush about that. All in all, I think this is a great dwarf list that's shaping up. The gyrocopters did their jobs fantastically. Even the Slayers got in on it, although there's still way too many points to do that with. There was like 225 points or something ridiculous like that to basically stop a Scrox unit, and that's about it. Yeah. But they're a good unit and they're fun. And again, that's one of my just fun units. I enjoyed painting them. I want to see what they can do. All in all, the Iron Breakers are amazing. At this point, I've pretty much given up on Hammerers. And I know everybody's like, oh, you can't give up on Hammerers. They get 2 attacks and whatever. They also die to a stiff wind. And I'm not going to buy and paint enough dwarves to field 40 or 50 of them like you really need. And so they're basically useless to me. I would much rather have a small unit type army like this is and do 20-man Ironbreakers, 20-man Longbeards. And I think they have a much, much better effect. As far as lessons I learned, definitely want to back up a little bit from that main line. Because I was so close, this army kind of does a lot of Rune of Slowness shenanigans, and because I started on the line, I didn't get the opportunity to do any of that. Now, admittedly, this, given the way the game went, it's kind of like a man who's given a free car bitching about the color, but I am trying to learn a little of something from every one of these battles I play, and I definitely love playing this particular player because of that. He is challenging. He is challenging as hell, and I feel very proud that I basically baited my trap just right, so that he went right for what looked to be the weak part of the army, the face first into the Quarrelers, and the stubborn banner with leadership 10 held him there, and the trap closed, and that was pretty much all said and done about the character unit. I mean, it was clean up from that point, and I was super happy. I also want to, as just a side note, I want to say thank you to all of you who watch these videos. My channel just hit 400 subscribers, and when I started doing this back at the beginning of the year, frankly, I never expected to get 400 people giving 2 shits about what I'm saying. So, thank you all 400 of you for stroking my ego and making my wife's life so much harder by swelling my head. But it's been a blast. We're going to keep doing this. This is Battle Report 48, so I got 2 more before 50, and we may try something big. I don't know. I've been asked a little bit about what I'm doing for my 50th. I'm not sure. I don't know. I may do something special. I may not. Just depends on what I can think. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you very much enjoyed this battle. I enjoyed playing it and recording it. Please subscribe and like below if you haven't already, and leave any comments. And I'll be more than happy to get to them. Even if you have any ideas about what I could do for the 50th battle report, that would be great too. So all in all, thank you guys again, and again, we'll catch you next time.